Hi. Well, I thought this video could talk about a topic that I haven't really discussed, but I guess because I'm so used to it. But it's really about hearing aids. So you just have your X hand shape and you put it over your ear. And that's any kind of hearing aid, because I know they have new hearing aids that go inside or whatever, but a hearing aid, because it goes behind the ear, and traditionally that goes behind the ear. And for deaf people, um, and hard of hearing, which I am now, because of chemo, I have an over-the-ear hearing aid. So it's and that's going to always be the sign. And I mean, maybe generations from now, maybe they'll change it. But there's also a cochlear implant. Now, a cochlear implant, it has two different signs. And one, or traditionally, when it first started, one was a negative and one was a positive. And I think I still kind of use it, but the cochlear implant that is a positive is your U hand shape back here where your cochlea is, and that's where they have the surgery. Now, the negative, it was this, the bent V hand shape. And sometimes I still see that. Sometimes people don't use, oh, that's a negative or that's a positive, and that's what I want to convey. And some people do. So you just have to kind of learn that, because sometimes if I've done a negative, like the original sign for autism, I had some parents tell me that was, oh, that's a negative connotation. We don't want to use that one. So I have changed it now. I can't even remember now what it is, but they said this is the sign that is a positive connotation, and so which is this, if y'all are just interested. But anyway, so sometimes people, you have to really feel them out and respect their decisions. So I use both, and depending what that person is using or wanting. Now, I want to discuss a little bit of the differences between a hearing aid and a cochlear. And I'm going to use this. I mean, I think I traditionally, because that's how I learned it, was a cochlear implant, but let's put it in a positive light, right? So a hearing aid, it amplifies sound. Now, hearing aids have really improved. Now, see, notice I did improve. Now, if you did it a little bit, it's like a little bit increments improving, like if you're sick and you're getting better. But it's a big improvement. It's a big jump. And so they have really improved. And it connects to your phone. It has a Bluetooth feature. I love it because I can listen to stuff on my hearing aids and no one else can. I'm not bothering anyone else. I don't have to have like headphones. So anyway, but it amplifies sound. And so sometimes people have hearing aids get a headache because it does go into the cochlea, and you know exactly where that cochlea is because that's where the sound goes. And sometimes it's too much on the nerves. Our hearing is bilateral and it's analog. And so when you get an electronic device, now it has a different sound and it works on different nerve systems. So on my phone, the audiologist was able to get different programs for me for different situations that I'm in to help me hear more clarity, like a restaurant or a classroom or a big stadium classroom, or if there's a lot of people talking around, and try to focus on it and try to filter that out. But it's very difficult because when you turn that on and you turn it up so you can hear what you're needing to hear, it amplifies that sound too. And sometimes you're going, really? That a piece of paper being crumpled makes that much noise, or a stapler makes that much noise? I mean, it's really, it can be annoying, and that's why a lot of deaf people will take out the hearing aid. They just get tired of hearing. And I've done that too. I've had them for 5 years now, or I guess this month it'll be 5 years. And there have been times where I just took it off, where I'm just so tired of it. It's so loud, and you get a headache, and it hurts your jaws too. And so you just like, I got to take it off. But then you can't hear. So the reason I'm explaining this to you is so that you won't think, oh my gosh, they can hear now. They got a hearing aid and they can hear just fine. No, it amplifies sound. So you want clarity, and then sometimes it can. I mean, it depends on your hearing level, that it's like, oh, if it's loud enough, then I can still hear with clarity. And I'm considered hard of hearing, but I do have a moderate to severe hearing loss. And so the hearing aids help, and I do wear them every day. I think sometimes on the weekend, if I'm not doing anything, I won't wear them, just because sometimes they'll itch or whatever. They just kind of annoy me, something in my ear. But it doesn't automatically, if for someone who's more profound, severe to profound, it's not going to make them understand clearly what you're saying. They will hear. Now, this is the difference. You will hear a sound, but you may not understand that sound. For example, I was trying to interpret on the stage, and I could hear the speaker, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. And I had my hearing aids adjusted, and what I really needed was a speaker monitor on the stage in front of me, so the sound was coming right at me, and then clear. So, and of course, with my amplification and the speaker right in front of me, I can hear that very clearly. So that's the difference. Is not just hearing, but can you understand? Is it clear? And so me now having a hearing loss, I understand my consumers a whole lot better. Now, and some people only have one, and sometimes your insurance only covers one. I was able to get two. My insurance covered two. So I was very fortunate. And sometimes if people are on Medicaid or Medicare, they're only allowed one, regardless of their hearing loss. Doesn't really seem fair, but they are very, very expensive. $3,000 on average for one hearing aid. So they are very expensive. Now, the cochlear implant, you can either do the sign or this sign. Like I said, I don't know that people really see one or the other as a negative anymore. I think that that's just the sign that you use. So sometimes I'll do this, and if I see that deaf person use this one with the U handshake, I'll use it. Like I said, the reason why it's here is because that's where they do the surgery. Internal, I mean, they open it up internally, but then you have the processor on the outside. And then you have it attached to the hearing aid. Or sometimes it's this little kind of a bulb thing here and nothing hanging on the ear. So sometimes it varies. It depends on what kind they choose. This has a tendency to fall off more because you have to have a strong magnet, and that causes headaches. A lot of women with thick hair, can't keep it on. They've lost it. And again, this is an electronic sound. And so this is an electronic sound. Electronic sound. It is not analog, which is how we hear naturally. And so when people get a cochlear, they're going to go, okay, maybe I hear it, but I don't even know what that means, right? What is that sound? And even people that were hearing before and lost their hearing because of age or, loud music or their job, or they were, maybe, jackhammer or whatever, and they lost their hearing, they have to learn again, oh, that sound is the doorbell, or that sound is the phone ringing. They have to learn again, what is that sound that I'm hearing something, but how do I interpret that? So it's a different sound. I have not experienced that, so I don't know, but I just know from them. And we had one little boy, bless his heart. I just really hated this for him, but we said, oh, if you hear it, raise your hand. And so they kept turning up. He just sat there. I go, do you hear it? Raise your hand. And he didn't. And then all of a sudden he just started crying. And so both me and the audiologist realized he was hearing it, and it was loud, and it was hurting him. And so we turned it down. But he just, for whatever reason, I don't know what he was expecting when we said, when you hear it, to raise your hand. So sometimes you're just not sure. Profound deaf people are not accustomed to hearing, and so they're not really sure what that is. You understand what I'm saying? It's like we can't really relate to that. So I don't want you as hearing people to expect deaf people to suddenly, oh, I can hear. It's a miracle. I can hear. I can understand clearly what everyone's saying. It takes time. It really does. And even though whatever you see on the YouTube videos, I hear all the time that audiologists have never seen that. And I have never seen that, me as an interpreter, because I would interpret audiology appointments a lot. And I have never seen that. And I remember even an adult, and she could speak, but she had a profound in one ear and a severe in another ear. And she had her cochlear implant, and her family was so excited to, oh, she can finally hear what we're saying. We don't have to get her attention and look at her. And I told them, I said, it's not going to be what you expect. And so they said, oh, yes, it will. Okay. So they said, oh, and we want to record, her first sounds, and it's going to be this wonderful happening. And they turned it on, and we talked to her, and I was signing to her, and she was, yeah, I can hear. And so then one of the sisters got behind her and was calling her name, and she never looked. She didn't understand her name. I think she heard a sound, but she didn't know what it meant. And so the family was very disappointed. I understand that. But you need to be aware about the expectations and the process about hearing again and what that sound is like. Now, for children, whenever they get a cochlear, they'll give them like speech, but for an adult, they don't. And I don't understand why they don't do that, but I guess it's not in the protocol, the requirements for that, but I feel that they should get the speech, and they just don't offer that. They do that for children and not for adults, but adults need to learn how to use it as well. So, and maybe some programs do, but just with the audiology department, they don't. So they refer you to speech if you're a child, because they want you to learn how to use it and how to speak and understand speech. But sometimes they don't. I had another consumer that had 2 cochlear implants, and he grew up with that, and he tried to speak, and we had speech and taught him, and he just worked so hard, but he really needed both. He could use his speech and just really concentrate on that, and he could speak, and you could understand that, and he could try to understand other people, and he's just out there mainstreamed in the world, and he just works so hard, but he really needs both, an interpreter and speaking. So he works really well in both worlds, but that doesn't mean that he's now, a hearing person, because he's not. But he works really hard, and he's really good, and he's such a nice person. Anyway, and their family is so nice. But anyway, it does take a lot of work. So I don't want you to have the expectation if a person gets a hearing aid, they can suddenly hear and understand everything clearly. They can't. And even if they can understand pretty well, they're going to need different adjustments with the hearing aid to be able to function in different environments. And also for the cochlear. They also have a BAHA, and it's called BAHA. It's an acronym. It's for bone conduction. I can't remember the acronym, but it's called it's bone conduction. So it's more on the back here, where you feel the vibrations on your bones, and you can feel it and then understand from that. And that's really cool, and I think our brains are so fascinating on how they can really function with different things, because sometimes profoundly deaf people, they'll raise their hand, they can't hear it, but they feel it. And so sometimes the audiologist will ask them if they feel it or if they hear it. So if they hear it, raise their hand. If they feel it, say they feel it. So, and that's that bone, sending out those signals, conduction. So it's really very interesting. So I just want you to have realistic expectations about your deaf friends, and deaf people in general, so you kind of get an understanding about that. It's not just sign language, but it's understanding, like, oh, they got a hearing aid, they can hear me now, and everything is cool. And it's not, they just hear differently, and there's some deaf people, I am just so shocked, but they go to music concerts, and they have fun, and they have on radio, and they turn up that bass, and so they just really are able to adjust, and it's just natural for them to do that, and we don't have to. And so it's almost like we're more lazy than them, because they work harder at doing those things. But this is not really more about signing, but it's more about an educational information about hearing aids, cochlears, and a BAHA, or a bone conduction, bone signal. This is a signal. Isn't that just a fun sign? Signal. So anyway, enjoy, and I hope you learned about this and can then use that information and tell other people, and so you can be aware. So when you see a deaf person, you're like, okay, and then you have more information, and you can understand how they hear and how you can communicate. So enjoy and have a good day. Bye.